Let's see. Okay, this is working. Welcome, welcome. I am Mondo, okay, Mondo Scope. Um, so real quick, I wanted to make a video about my process. Uh, Currently, some of the intention behind it, some of the sort of thoughts in between, just a picture of in progress. I'll do my best to stay cogent during this and see where we'll go from there. This is going to be mostly talking about this piece in front of you, which this is a little detail right now, and this is solar formations. I have this little detail as sort of like a highlight of sort of the level of detail. It's also a favorite from people who have shown this piece, and it's currently this is about 66% of the actual size. So we're at 100%. This is like most of my PC screen right now. So either way, yeah, we're going to touch on everything I can kind of come up with as we're going along this. I can't help but make this a little bit of a yapping video just because my process is very iterative in a chaotic and sort of painterly way, which as I develop my practice and my style, I get more honed in on certain aspects and find opportunities to get better at others. So let's just get along. This first few works I'll be showing are sort of the other recent pieces I've made. This is just showing what it is like when I just spend maybe like a day or so, just about in general as far as on a piece. It's a little bit more self-contained, a little bit more sketchy, but I try to add enough detail there to where it's still worth coming back to, and there's something, again, painterly about this digital creation that sort of sits with people. And I've just been trying to be really aware of texture, really aware of composition, and doing less with more, or doing more with less, because I've been doing less with more. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But either way, this is Trapped by Sense of Self. What other one? This is another one submitted the other time, like a couple months back, to a show online, and I do like aspects of this. This was done with a combination of brushes and also some layer styling and some blur tool blend. I forget what it's called, but basically you can drag sort of the pixels and you can kind of make it even more of a blending tool. But while I did like certain moments with this, especially when things are really sharp, there's areas where it kind of falls apart and becomes a little bit too soft. You kind of lose some of the form, and you end up being in a little bit of a colory sort of hellscape. But that's a couple months back at this point. Going forward, this is a little more like my photo bashing stuff kind of coming in, with some painting going over, painting techniques kind of to blend things in. This is of a just a more quick commission where it's like a skull with some fun, thrashy psychedelic effects I was able to come with off of just using tricks in Photoshop. This is very light painting and then mostly just Photoshop magic, but just to give you a hint as to the level of detail that I've been putting in when it comes to just my more illustrative and painterly pieces. This is, I believe this is Hood, and I don't really have the works in progress for this one, but you can sort of see, if I go and zoom in, kind of who we're working with as far as the level of detail that's happening. If we go up to 100 or 66, even 100, there's moments where things are really sharp, especially down the center, which I don't mind as far as like a focal point effect. But I had kind of wished after I finished this piece that there was a little bit more of that sharpness as we go out, just to really help with these sort of light bands overlapping one another and giving the impression of depth, despite like my stuff being very wearing the sort of flag of 2D and its merits, I do try to really ground my psychedelia and abstract works with realistic, if not slightly realistic, if we're just going for dramatic like lighting, but this a lighting that feels grounded, at least with not following the rules, to be a little more specific and getting us on the same page as what we're looking at. But this is sort of I would say a success when it comes to not losing sight of that level of detail. I think it has various levels of success, but at least the intention is there. We can kind of see that. As far as that overlapping feeling that I'm hoping for, I think we're just starting to kind of dawn on that. Let's see if this is okay. So now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of why I'm making this video, and that's to sort of show the work in progress of a piece. And this piece is solar formation. So you'll see the initial sketch done in black and white. I've been trying to get away from starting pieces in full color, only because of how quickly that can sort of, that process at least can kind of devolve into sort of ADHDing my way around a canvas. It's less focused of a process, and it's more of just, oh, look at this, I mean, look at that, you know, look like I changed here and this and that. And then when you do that mentality, at least in black and white, it still sort of focuses on the important parts of lighting and form and overlap, like I'm talking about previously, which there's some attempts at overlap here. It's sort of hinting at what my mind is trying to accomplish as far as things dynamically reacting and moving around each other when it comes to these imaginary wisp-like movements. Go to the next part. So you can see this is a little bit past that. Definitely still rough around the edges, but we're sort of moving past that initial sketch and into something that's looking more like a full piece. One of the benefits of not caring so much about finishing work is that you can sort of churn out a lot without feeling so offended by every little choice and decision that may sometimes collaborate, but often will collide and contrast with previous movements and intentions that you have with the piece. And so it can be really hard to maintain this stable, cohesive, unified, I keep saying intention, but just vision for where you want the artwork to kind of end up as. And sometimes you don't know what that's going to be. That is tough to navigate, because you always are going to have that initial idea, but then sometimes, and very often, you'll realize that what comes after that is more impressive. So this is sort of another in-between step, well past what I showed a second ago. We're sort of getting down to a lot of like more finer lines and a lot more black. I think I decided kind of early on that I didn't want to go solely which it's not the worst thing to do, but I do a lot of like, okay, let me go a little bit cooler or a little bit warmer, and then also adjust the value of that color. And this time around, I was just like less afraid to make decisions that were just like, no, this is going to be like a full-on black like line that's sort of defining in a really nice way sometimes, even more so some of these moments and movements, and adding drop shadows here and there over the course of the whole thing. You just get sensitive to when something isn't working, when you could do something different, when you just need to be a little bit reckless and just make a waveform that goes over half the piece, you know what I mean? But you do that enough times and in enough of a similar, at least, intention of like, this is going to be productive, this isn't going to be just, I'm not distracted, you know, I'm just doing something different. And when you can kind of make that mental switch, this becomes a little bit less daunting. And so I'll kind of zoom out a little bit. Yeah, it's, you know, it's getting somewhere. It's definitely getting somewhere, and there's this sort of impact visually that I'm hoping to give off as this impressive, sort of powerful, energetic thing that's happening behind our central figure, but you know, it still has some ways to go as far as some of the color isn't as like definingly like high contrast, like high value. There's a lot of muddling, right? There's a lot of just like colors happening, but there's not a lot of like brights to contrast some of this darker, more in total gray sort of space we developed. Going past that, we're bringing color back in. This is looking a lot better in my eyes just already, because there is, yes, that black we had, but we're also coming back with a lot of like not so vibrant, not so harsh, but still like bright colors, you know what I mean? But it's given depth, it's given context, and sort of a place like when you can just go ahead and just do like a couple small wisps of like a brightest yellow or even some bright blue hues to kind of help out with what your eye-hand coordination is trying to imply directionally. Certain parts and sections and sectors of the piece will, you know, sort of give the impression like this thing is above the area below, but it's also behind, you know, this and that, you know what I mean? You try not to get pigeonholed and locked into something so defined to where it's boring, but I don't know, your eye picks up on moments that are really captivating, and you try to hone in on what about that is working, or how you can more interestingly showcase that. So, you know, it came back to this sort of central location, got rid of a lot of that sort of white energy. You know, there was some cool stuff. It was probably the most high contrast area, but it just didn't make any sense. It wasn't really inspiring any kind of like building up, like jumping off momentum from that. So I kind of came in with just some like straight lines. The brush that I use whenever I turn it all the way to the like a really large scale, it gives off this sort of, I've heard it described as like fireworks or like static sort of texture, and I use that for the edge. But then seeing all those straight lines did inspire me to just take like a straight line of like a small size, and then just do these sort of radiating light rays that I expanded out even more so, and they sort of start to guide just a focal, you know, perspective that I can work with and sort of ground my piece in. Because if we're going symmetrical, then things have to kind of radiate from or towards something and be in this sort of like hierarchy of where your attention is going. So that's kind of fueling that. And like I'm saying, I'm bringing a lot of color back in. I'm trying to draw on some very like potent color combinations that I feel like are immersive, and you know, just blending those things into where it's like more dreamlike than it is just clashing with one another. And then this might be the last step I have before just the final piece, which is just this guy. So you're gonna notice automatically just how much more vibrant that is, right? There isn't a lot that's changing necessarily, but it is enough that it's really kind of making you notice more about what was there. And it's a combination of like a lot of small continuations and like capitalization of sort of trains of thought that are happening throughout, with some really bright pops of color. There's definitely some minor but still some like layer effects that are happening to where I'm using some combination of those layer elements to you know, give some extra pop. And then I think just the final result, you know, it's still chaotic, you know, it's still this very much like almost work in progress type of feeling. But I mean, it's okay, because this whole sort of composition is sort of implying this movement that is still happening. It's immersive because it's not necessarily completely finished, and by that I mean there's just everything can't be traced to like that's what exactly what that is. You know what I mean? There's always sort of this questioning of, am I seeing everything? Um, is this it? You know what I mean? It can be a good and a bad thing. You know what I mean? Some people really need some things to be defined. Other people really respond positively to not being given a clear answer. I think people like to find little small discoveries on their own terms, and I don't necessarily take all the credit for that sort of stuff. It's very much I'm figuring it out as I'm going along as well. So it's always fun to come back to these kind of pieces and look and see all the things that even I didn't notice when I made a thing, because I'm just, my brain, as soon as I make one mark, is getting distracted by another thing that I want to get out. And it's sort of also hinting at, well, at some point you need to finish these things, right? They need to be done. They need to be like, okay, well, is that it? Like, are you done? Like, because they can keep going. You know what I mean? There's always this sort of looking for more of this ineffable when it comes to my pieces, that at some point I think we get it. We're never gonna fully capture that moment because it's always changing and we're always reacting to things, and I think that's what inspires me to keep making stuff like this. It's just I know that I cannot define that which is the most like enrapturing to me, but getting closer and closer is what makes this stuff exciting. So I don't know. I think that that's a little bit of it. I will probably edit this. I'll probably cut this down and maybe post it raw and hate myself for it. But I try to, at least as far as what's happening in between these moments of works in progress, you can kind of see enough of your own thought process to realize this isn't so complicated. It's just time. It's just time in developing your eye, because this took about a few weeks. No, sorry. Yeah, a few weeks. Whereas previously stuff like this would take me like a month, if not more, be multiple. And there's benefits to it. There's definitely areas that are super sharp, like I said, that I really am fond of. But then also too, I think spending that much time on it, you kind of get blind to some things and lose focus of some of the specificities that you wanted to put in. And yeah, I think as I go on with this kind of work, you just have to, by process of elimination, decide what's most important to show off. And I think chasing that sort of loop of success versus the risk of failure is what I'm very excited by with my work currently. Yeah, I'm not sure why I wanted to get this sort of notion out there, but I just wanted to be able to engage people more about my stuff and be able to kind of share in the excitement that I get out of this stuff. So hope you're having a good one. I'm Mondo, and you have a good day. Take it easy. Peace.